Now, just before you sit down, I want every one of you to put a real pretty smile on your faces. You know, you look so beautiful, and I've been watching you in color backstage on the monitor, the way you look across America and in the foreign cities across the world on our telecast. But as beautiful as you are, you know what we always say here, you're not really dressed until you put on a smile. And no matter how expensive your clothes may be, you're not dressed until you put on that smile, even if your wig did cost $100. And here at United Church, at United Palace, and in our Joy of Living meetings across America, we usually tell the people that there is healing and blessing even in a smile. And so let's smile and say that together. Upstairs in the balcony and down here on the main floor in the auditorium, together there is healing and blessing even in a smile. And just before I have you exchange smiles and greetings with each other, I'd like to tell you something that you here at the church have heard me tell many times, but I want to share it with the television audience about the power of a smile. I remember a few years ago, the wife of one of my former associate ministers lay in the hospital after a very serious operation. And they were doing everything to get her to respond normally, but they could not get her to respond normally or to breathe normally. She was in oxygen, and for about 3 days they worked with her feverishly, doing all that they could so that her normal breathing could be restored. And so finally on the third day, all of a sudden she burst out laughing, ha 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 ha. And when she did that, her lungs and her breathing passages cleared up, and she began to breathe normally. And the nurses and the doctor came to her and said to her, "You needed that, but tell us something. What was it that made you laugh out like that?" So she looked at them and said to them, "Well, I was thinking about a man." She did not tell them what man, but it was me. And if you knew this man, you would laugh because he would make you laugh too. And you'll find here at this church that this is a fun church. This is a smiling church. This is a happy church. This is a joyous church. And we even have scriptures for it, if you please, because the scriptures say, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." And so we don't have any kind of sad religion around here. We've put away sad religion, and we have discovered the joy of the Lord within. And the joy of the Lord is always strengthening us. Now, I'm going to have you bless each other with a smile. Put on that great big smile now. We don't want any of you to be strangers, and there are thousands of you here. If you look, they're packed to the rafters here, all the way up to the very rafters on all 1, 2, 3, 4 levels. But I don't want any of you to be strangers. With that big smile on your faces, I want you to turn around and shake every hand within reach, and with that smile say to each other, "The presence of God in me blesses the presence of God in you." Go ahead. Here lately in these services, we've been having quite a few visualization prayer treatments. And particularly in these visualization prayer treatments, I've been telling the people to visualize themselves having fabulous vacations. And as a matter of fact, a few months ago, I instructed my congregation to get their passports. And a lot of people got their passports, and some people got some vacations that they had never even dreamed they would get before we started doing these visualization prayer treatments for success, prosperity, money, and vacations in particular. After we had been doing these visualization prayer treatments, particularly for fabulous vacations, if you please, one of my associate ministers, Dr. Alfred Miller, came to me and said during a ministers' conference, Reverend Ike, when you give that visualization prayer treatment and we visualize ourselves in these fabulous places and in these fabulous hotels on vacation and on those fabulous beaches, I wish you would let me sit down, because I become so absorbed in the vision of being on the beach and wading in the water until I almost slide down to the floor. And I said to him, Dr. Miller, that's really visualizing. And this is a good example of how it should be done. In your mind, in your imagination, you should see the good which you desire until you actually feel it, until you are no longer mentally in the place where you are physically, but you become in consciousness present in the place that you're visualizing and in the condition that you're visualizing. So I said, all right, Dr. Miller, you may sit down while we're visualizing. And since that time, I have also let the congregation be seated while we're visualizing, because quite a few people go right off into all of these wonderful visions that we encounter. And this visualization process is working. Now, about 2 weeks after Dr. Miller had visualized himself and his wife and his little son over in Hawaii, something wonderful happened to him, because this is where he was visualizing. He wanted to go to Hawaii. And so he visualized himself and his family over in Hawaii. And about 2 weeks later, unexpectedly, it became possible for him and his wife and his little son to go to Hawaii for a fabulous vacation for a week. And I thought I'd like to have him tell you about it, because as I said on a previous telecast, I watch my ministers to see if they are demonstrating this, because it's not enough to talk about this, you must demonstrate it. Is that right? And so I'm going to ask Mrs. Miller and their son Alfie to come to the platform at this time and join Dr. Miller. Well, if Alfred Jr. doesn't feel like coming today, maybe you'd better leave him. He's sort of protesting back there. He's sleepy. And let them tell us something about their wonderful experience and how they visualized this wonderful vacation to Hawaii and how it all came about, so that it may help some of you. Remember, in this teaching, we tell you whatever you desire. We tell you whatever you desire to see yourself being and doing and having the good which you desire. And I just want you to know that my ministers are practicing this, I'm practicing this, and it's working. And maybe I'll let Dr. Miller speak first, because this has been just so interesting. You tell these people about your experience in visualizing this vacation while I would be carrying the congregation through the visualization prayer process.
Thank you, Dr. Eichencoder. I'd like to say that to begin with, the visualization prayer became quite a part of me, because here in the Science of Living, we've been telling people that what you see is what you get. And really, that became flesh, because as I would begin seeing things within me, that very thing that I would see had to come to pass, because I just believed it, I felt it, I tasted it, and all of a sudden, similar to some of the other people, what they've said, I knew that if I would say it, my word would not return unto me void. So, no one in particularly, even Mrs. Miller, didn't know exactly where I saw myself going. She saw herself in Hawaii also, and I was surprised, because about the second week after we were visualizing different places, I didn't really want to ask her where she saw herself, because she might have seen herself someplace where I wouldn't want to go. And I didn't think that I would really let her go anyplace without me. So finally,
Not with that trim new figure.
hey. So finally, about the second week, I said to her, honey, I said, you know, I've been seeing myself on a beautiful beach someplace, and I knew that she really didn't want to go to certain parts of the world, but I told her, I said, you know, I've been seeing myself in Honolulu, Hawaii. She said, me too. And when she said me too, then I knew it had to come to pass. And I was, you know, particularly happy about it because the very minute she agreed that she saw herself there, I knew that somehow, some way, that this had to happen. And of course, it happened in such a beautiful fashion until I'm sort of like the lady that said, if I'd have known it was this easy, I would have asked for more.